Hello everybody and welcome back to the recap of last week in Spellweaver, and new cards are coming and I cannot spoil them for you. I mean, I'm perfectly okay with that. I have those that I can spoil left in the favorites because Ivko actually said that Ivko actually spoiling the cards himself, and well, with that I am allowed to spoil what these are. I am not allowed to spoil what the other cards are, but oh boy, are we getting some insane stuff there. But well, I'm not gonna say anything about those because, well, Ivko actually said that we are theoretically allowed to spoil something, but he did not specify what, and at the same time he said that we are not supposed to spoil anything, so let's keep it spoiler free. There is new hero, I can say that. That was announced already anyway, so that's cool to say. We're having new artifacts, new creatures, new spells, everything. Wait, do we have new spells? We're definitely having new creatures, we're definitely having new artifacts, and probably the most exciting thing we're having is the new primary cards. Yeah, primary. You can have any number of copies of a primary card in your deck. We have a primary creature. Will it be too much of a spoiler if I say that other primary cards are coming? Non-creature primary cards? That's amazing. Before we get to those, a few words from the sponsors. No, not from the sponsors. A few words about the ongoing ritual, kind of right now. The Riri's deck series, which this week Rinrid brought us the wonderful Rage Rush, which actually I have been using in many variants for a long time. That's a nice deck for two basic things. First of all, it's quick AF, so I love it for doing quests like play 10 quick games, because this is the deck that has like the highest odds of actually doing it in a reasonable time. Because you either win it or you lose it. And this is one of my variants of this deck. It is suboptimal. I have been experimenting with this deck quite a lot. This is probably like the deck I have experimented with the most. There are things I like and I don't like about many variants of this. What I have here is slightly different than what Rinrit is offering. He is actually proposing a build with 4 tortured orcs that I use none of. That's largely because I don't really like the situations where you end up with, yes, tortured orcs, but then nothing else, and you cannot do anything about it. There is the potential for damage, but that's not always achievable. And if you cannot do it, then you're stuck with the slaved torture orcs that are just sitting there and doing nothing. This is why I opt to actually take 4 fireworkers. I have 3 detonates, although I will actually ditch that at some point. Or definitely lower the amount. Actually, Rinrid in his version of the deck is showing the one with 4 fireballs, 3 fire blasts, there it is, 3 words of fire, and 3 massive assaults. Personally, I don't really want to go below the 3 fire blasts, below the 4 fire blasts. I might go to 3 if I had 4th word of fire, but since I don't have 4th word of fire, I keep the fire blasts. Massive assault, I am holding 4. That's a little bit of an excess on my end, but I can do it, so why not? I'm also not using any Raki Berserkers. Uh, well, this is, I don't know. I have just removed them in one of the variants of this deck, and actually never got back to including them. It's not that they are bad; they are actually pretty good. Although I don't really find them exceptionally special. The Swift is good, although I'm compensating on Swift a lot with the Firebrand and the associated goblins. One of the version of this deck I had was like entirely goblins and had nothing that was non-goblin. Now I'm running flame runes because I was actually going for those detonates. Then I put the fire god temples because of the detonates and the flame rune. That's tricky. I actually think I might be going back to the Target Emblem 3 deck. Target Emblem 3 version of this deck. The other major differences, only 3 firebrands in the re-release version. Frankly, this is again something I'm not too fond of. I am running quite a lot of high cost creatures, although I'm not running any flame serpents, which will be like again in those high cost areas. So I'm kind of balancing it this way. But I really think that firebrands are the key in this deck, especially if you can combine them with cleverly placed gibbos. That gives you a huge boost, because if you can drop 2 at the same time, it's 6 damage in your opponent's face out of nowhere. This is really where this deck excels, in dropping Firebrand and following it with Gibbo and Ronnie, because this gives you 6 damage that your opponent is largely unprepared for. And of course, if they have some potential blockers, you always have Zash to prevent your opponent creatures from blocking. I'm not running the Flame Serpents though, which are extremely expensive, but they are 1 use only. So this is my problem with them. Actually, let's get to edit. I never really wanted to go here because the cards that should not be shown. But yeah, the Flame Serpent is it is powerful, and it's again a nice surprise attacker. But unlike the Firebrand Goblin and his goblins, it's 1-time use only. So yeah, it kind of sucks. You know, this deck is not really going for any sort of revival potential. So if you use it, then it's lost. It is powerful. It is good enough to deal with strong threats and many other things. I don't know. There is a lot room in this room. Yeah, a lot room in this deck. The target emblems work decent enough. Well, I had the version with Wall of Flames, which actually I used it first with the old Wall of Flames, which is a little bit more convenient with the new Wall of Flames. It was still working. It was much more defensive focused, and it was really problematic if I couldn't breach my own Wall of Flame, which again was a case with the Gibbos and Ronnies and Goblin Warriors having only 1 health. That was sometimes problematic to breach through my own Wall of Flames and counter properly. But largely I would just ignore it and let the Wall of Flames run, clear as much board as possible, or create as much board presence as I can, and then just try to release a deadly attack after the Wall of Flames is gone. It was working. Somehow. Anyway, that's a decent deck. That's one of the decks that I actually use in one form or another. So there is a lot more I could say about it, but I think I just end it here. In other news, Xarelon started a custom card contest. Yeah, design a card. He said that theme is supposed to be line interaction. Although that's really all I want to say about it. If you have a card idea that could work, go on Reddit and post it. Other than that, I have asked Saralon if it's actually any sort of dev-supported idea, or since it's supposed to be a contest, does he plan any sort of rewards or anything? No reply yet. Although, well, I'll be honest, I asked it just today, because it's only today that I actually came back home and can do something. He actually announced it, what, Monday? Yeah, I definitely wasn't available since Monday. Yeah, I mean, birthdays happen, and what was I actually doing past week? I don't remember much. Regardless of that, yeah, still no idea how much is it. I mean, I don't really think it's official in any sort of sense, because I don't recall IFCO saying anything about it anywhere. Might have been something on Discord. As I said, I'm not really too active on Discord. I pop from time to time, but then I get annoyed that I have 500,000 messages from years ago that I haven't read, and following them up is so annoying. Annoying. That doesn't really work. Well, they are pretty annoying to follow those messages up, especially that yeah, as I said before, I don't really like backtracking on a chat format, so it really annoys me, and I don't really follow back. So, stuff happens. So I don't really know what's going on Discord. Well, I pop up, sometimes take a brief look and leave there. Not my cup of tea. I like Discord for the voice chat functionality, and it's like if you need to talk to someone, then it's great. But for the written chat, yeah, I don't like written chats. Not my cup of tea. Anyway, with that said, let's get to the cards and take a brief look at them. Oh, shit. We will take care of it in editing. If I won't forget, I hope I won't forget. You shouldn't be able to see those, and the problem is there is a new hero, so it's right there at the top. Anyway, let's talk about the cards. First of all, the Swarming Spider. Play Boost. I don't like this name. Honestly, I don't like this name. It's not 100% obvious what it does. You do need to read the flavor text to figure out that it's actually something that happens when you play a card, and only when you play. I got the idea why they went for such a name. It's because there are other effects that we have when the card is played, when the card enters the field, etc., etc. Crafting should be safe. The next time you play, spells with mana cost equal to number of items and turn can be played. Destroyed equal to the played card's base. Yeah, I'm actually not sure if there are effects that trigger only on the... I don't think there were the effects that would trigger only when you play a card. Well, I think there was something like that that wouldn't trigger if you, like, draw from graveyard or something. But anyway, the idea with these was to make cards that have their effects trigger only when they are played from hand. So You have to play it, pay the mana cost, meet the requirements, any sort of additional draws, any sort of drawing from deck, drawing from graveyard, summoning, or whatever else won't trigger the abilities of those. Yeah. Okay, to this Swarming Spider itself, it is really powerful. First of all, it's like you can make it deadly if you pay 2 life. So that's a steep cost, but that's a powerful ability. That is something. Summon a Swarming Spider if you pay 2 mana. So I was really like, what's the real point? I mean, we have those in like technically unlimited numbers in deck. Okay. And then we can summon more. Since it's this play boost, which I'd really love a better name for it. Like, what is it? Charge in Hearthstone? I don't remember rather, but definitely, yeah, every game has those effects, and they all have some weird name for it. That is not 100% obvious either, and you need to read the tooltip text to realize what it is, and once you learn it, it's fine. And my biggest problem with this is I think that it's 2 words. If it would be any sort of 1-word formation, then it would be slicker, I guess. Anyway, so you can summon another spider, but since those are primary and you pay 2, and then the one you summon, it doesn't have any of these abilities, is it really a huge point in summoning those? But then again, you're saving yourself a card that you have in hand. Honestly, that's not a card I think anyone would be running like 60 copies of in hand. Regardless. Well, that's definitely a lot of potential for building something upon that idea. We don't have more spiders yet. That's problematic because the third option gains a might emblem for each other spider you control if you pay 3. So that's expensive. That will really sink your mana like crazy if you cannot manage them properly. But on the other hand, you should be able to swarm, as the name suggests, quite a huge amount of those, and then, you can have like 3, 4, 5 spiders running easily on the board without too much of a hassle, and then you drop another one. You ignore the deadly, you ignore the summoning a new spider, and you just pay 3 more mana, so you effectively make it a 5 mana creature 1 level, which is great. And then you turn it into something like 7/7 to speed. Wow. Then again, we're making a huge creature, and as huge creatures usually are, it will probably be target to a removal of some sort. There is a lot of ways you can then try and counter this removal. Like, you will be immune to You will be immune to effects of Sanctum of the Void because you target the creature. Wait, Tribute? Yeah, again, Infernal Tribute, you can mitigate it and summon your weaker spiders. Suffocate won't be strong enough. Soul Flames will be strong enough, but will be very punishing to your opponent. Yeah. But then again, effects like Cataclysm will wipe it easily. And there are many other ways of getting rid of way too overpowered opponent's creature. They are always a problem, but that's why we have overpowered targeted removal. And that's why bluntly overpowered creatures like with no special abilities, like for example the Raging Gigantodon, Hunting Gigantodon. I don't know why I keep calling it Raging. Like Hunting Gigantodon, or where is it? Undead Hydra. They don't really see too much of a play in typical constructed. They cost a lot to play, and then they become easy targets to get rid of. Companion of the Heavens, though, is having some is seeing some play sometimes. Although it's Valor 2, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's not big on its own, but it has the effect. Gomor is seeing play, but it has powerful effects that really make him stand out. Antariel, insanely powerful, but again, effects. Descendant, I actually think is a little bit less popular. Because his effects are not that strong, although he's a strong card on his own. Big bodies are really problematic with this, that they are not really seeing as much play as they could have seen. Angelic Emanation. That's a really interesting card, because that's the first merger of good and evil aspect we're seeing. So far, all the double aspect cards were double mixes within their own alignment. Yeah, we had blue-yellow, we had green-yellow, we had yellow-blue, we had also black-purple, we had black-red, we had red-purple. So yeah, they were within their own realm. Now with the Angelic Emancipation, we're having first card that truly mixes good and evil aspect. We had the Cold-Hearted Paladin. Would have been quicker if I just typed the name. But Cold-Hearted Paladin, despite his tainted mechanic and implication that you should be using evil with him, one way or another, he did not require evil on its own, or his own. So, yeah, I guess we can easily say him instead of it. It's a human male, clearly. Where is he? Yeah, I guess he would have boobed armor if he was supposed to be female. Do we have angels? Yep, boobed armor. Definitely. No boobed armor means male. Boobed armor means female. That's not really an armor. Crap, Saluxio is female. Well, it's not like I ever thought Saluxio to be male or something. So even though there was some implication that you should be using evil with the Cold-Hearted Paladin, it was not outright required. So, yeah. Now, with the inclusion of Angelic Emanation, we have an evil angel, which, oh my god, so much can be done with it. And then again, play boost, which seems to be a theme for the upcoming cards. Summon Enchained Soul if you pay 1, or Shield Emblem if you pay 1. So, you have a flat body. That would actually be called a bear, if I recall correctly. Oh, the register... Oh, right. I was like, what? Masters on Thursday? What's going on? Yeah, but the registration for Masters starts like a half a week before. So, you got a solid 2-2 body with 2 speed. Then again, it has some interesting abilities. The added cost of 1 more level is something that is really to be considered. But on the other hand, it's flying and life-bound. You can gain more health from Enchained Souls, or you can just gain more bodies. Fast bodies. Well, there is a lot of potential decks that this could come in and could wreak havoc, to say the least. A very interesting card, especially in relation to all the cards we have so far. And the last one we can show you today, the Elvish Companion, we can take a look at. Now we're getting to something a little bit more interesting, because it's not a flat 2-2 body with 2 speed. This one actually has 3 health, so she's a little bit tougher. And that is really interesting, because now, so far we had cards that had their play boosts require a payment, be it in the form of mana or life. Same here. But this one, she actually has the play boosts that trigger based on the field conditions, and this is really interesting, and that's what I really like, because it not only affects your field condition, it affects your opponent's field condition, and anything that depends on the field condition means that you have to play more strategically with what you are doing on the field. This is something that I really lacked in dumb games like Hearthstone, and what I still lacked in Spellweaver, despite the inclusion of the back lane, that was present in Duel of Champions, and that was probably like the main reason why I loved Duel of Champions so much, because Duel of Champions was really strategic in matter of placement of the creatures on the board. Because every creature you played in some place on the board, you are limited to only 8 spaces on the board. And every creature you played, it was not only significant by the creature itself and what it's doing on its own, but it was also significant in what creatures are adjacent to it on your end, what creatures are adjacent to it on your opponent's end, and how the empty spaces can be played in the future. So there was a lot of work involved in Duel of Champions with that. Now, in Hearthstone, there is this mechanic that you can, like, put one creature between 2 others, or something like that, but as far as I remember, you would only affect, like, 2 creatures adjacent to it on the left and right, so that is kinda limited, and there is literally, like, no interaction with the creatures on the front line. This is something we're not having here as well, kinda sucks. But we are getting to some of the field interactions as well, and that's getting really interesting. I must say, with the new cards inclusion, it's like I have never been so hyped about Spellweaver in like ever. Probably not even when I first started playing it, when I was really into it, and when I was really playing a lot of it, when I still had a lot more time to play it. Jesus Christ, where all that time is going? Anyway, yeah, it's like, it seems like I'm sitting there, doing stuff, and like I'm doing less stuff than I would be able to do in the past in the same amount of time. Like, like 1 hour seems to last only 45 minutes now, and it used to last 60 in the past. It's like I still have 24 hours a day, but in the end it's like less time than what 24 hours a day used to be. Maybe it's just I have way too much stuff to do right now, and that's not really flowing so easily in the limited 24 hours a day. Dear Lord, if we could have 25 hours a day, what a change would it be? Regardless, let's get back to the game. So it is becoming swift if you control 3 or more other creatures, and it gains a might emblem if your enemy controls 3 or more creatures. So that's amazing. First of all, it will work like a charm in any sort of elf decks that pure aggro, which not necessarily require, but decks that that thrive on dropping a lot of creatures, even though they are weak creatures. It doesn't really matter. You can drop cards like the Elf Warrior, or whatever it is called, the Elf Scout, which is so freaking prominent in these decks, which can be a huge pain in the bottom, because like with 4 speed, there is hardly anything that can block it or directly target it. But at the same time, it's only 1/1, so if you have to waste some direct removal on it, like Fireball for example, it's like, I'm not gonna waste a Fireball on a 1/1. But then again, after 5 turns, it's sitting there and poking you, you've lost 5 health. And there is no other way you can deal with it. Yeah, this is why we have splash damage in the form of like flame, whatever it is called, and other stuff. but it's not always available, and sometimes you are sitting in this decision whether you want to waste your targeted removal that could waste something stronger, or do you want to sit there and let the Elf Scout poke you for 1 damage for eternity, or at least for next 20 turns when he'll die, unless you have some healing. Yeah, keeping in mind that those are cheap, and really annoying. I'm looking for these guys. Yeah, you play 1 Brothers in Arms, and then you get another 1 for free. That's already getting you to a total of 2 creatures on the field. And I'm not 100% sure how it'll work. I haven't tested those yet. And actually, I did not have a chance to ask anyone about how it works. But, precisely, if it works like, say, Word of Power, Power Surge. If it works like Power Surge, you might be able to trigger the play boost with the Elvish Champion as the 3rd creature. I'm not 100% sure when it counts the amount of creatures on the board, but I would say that first the creature is dropped on the board, so you control it, and then it checks the requirements for the play boosts from top to bottom. So this is why the Power Surge works this way, that if you use it while you have only 6 mana crystals, and you use it to gain the 7th one, then you get a card. Because you play this card, first you gain an empty mana crystal, and then it's checking the if clause if you have the 7 or more mana crystals. So first you gain a mana crystal, then it's checking how many mana crystals does the player have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh yes, there is 7. It was just added by this card? No, I don't remember that. They have 7, they can draw a card. So I presume it might work similar with the Elf. Although I'm not 100% sure. Elvish Champion. Although I'm not 100% sure. In the same manner, I'm pretty sure that if you'd have something that you would play it, and then it would remove your opponent's card, and then rely on counting the amount of your opponent's cards, then it would count the cards after the removal, not at the time of dropping the card. At least that's what I think. As I said, not tested yet. Anyway, the other cards that we're having, I think there is 7 of those if I recall correctly, although I'm not 100% sure. I think we should have something for every aspect, more or less. There is definitely a card, I think a spell for Dominion. There is definitely an artifact for Wisdom. There is definitely a creature, an elf for the nature. There is a creature for Rage. There is a creature for Corruption. There is a creature for Corruption, sorry, this one, and the one for Order. This kinda counts as Order as well as Corruption. This counts for both. And there is a new hero, which I cannot spoil, although I would really like to. Can I spoil the name? She's using placeholder art right now. I would have to... Yeah, I know. I would have to, like, edit all of this shit right now. So there is 2 versions of her right now because we are not... It has not been decided by the dev team what actually she should be doing. Yeah, I guess I'll spoil the name. Hopefully Ivko won't kill me. That's a really nice hero. Anyway, yeah, no more spoilers. I mean, both versions are interesting. That's what I'm trying to say, because they are, well, different from each other. Anyway, that will be it for this week's recap. There's nothing else to be said. Nothing else happened. We're having the cards spoiled. I think we were supposed to get the new cards on 7th, like in game, but I think I've seen Ivko say something about yet another delay, and potentially the game being updated on 10th of May, with the new cards available for people, like everyone. We'll see. Anyway, that will be definitely for today. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, share. That's all for today. Stay tuned for the next week, and take care.